The Loch Ness Monster. Nessie. Fact or fiction? Real or fake? I'll tell you what, come with me. Let's dive in. So Loch Ness is a freshwater loch and it's situated in the Scottish Highlands and it's 22.5 miles in length and is nearly 227 metres deep. Now this loch is the home of the mythical, I'll say that, it might be real. Let me know in the comments at the end of this video, okay, what you think. But it's the home of the Loch Ness Monster, affectionately known as Nessie. The first ever recording of it though goes back to the 7th century AD, when St Columba prevented the monster from attacking one of his followers. He made the sign of the cross to the monster and said the words, "Go no further, do not touch the man, go back at once." Now I'm assuming this worked. Now in the year, well, either 1871 or 1872, in the month of October, a D. Mackenzie reported seeing what looked like an upturned boat, saying that this upturned boat or log was wriggling around and churning up the water. It was moving slowly at first, but then seemed to move a little bit faster and then disappeared. Now, although this incident happened in 1871 or 1872, it wasn't published until the year 1934, after popular interest began to emerge in this monster. In 1888, an Alexander Macdonald saw what he described as a large salamander with stubbly legs coming out of the loch and heading towards him on the shore. I can't find out what he did, whether he just stood there and watched or whether he got the hell out of there. On the 15th of April 1933, a Mrs. Aldie Mackay was driving along the A82 with her husband John when they saw a very large fish or whale-like beast rolling around in the water in the loch.
It just rose out of the water, black, wet, with the water rolling off it. And I yelled at my husband, "Stop the beast."
They said that when this huge beast took its final plunge, it made a massive disturbance in the water, rather like that a passing steamer boat would make. Now this case sparked a great deal of attention with the public. On the 22nd of July 1933, a Mr. George Spicer and his wife reported seeing a large creature crossing the road around 20 yards from the loch. They said this creature was around 25 feet in length and around 4 feet high, but they didn't see any limbs, and it had a long neck similar to an elephant's trunk. As it moved along, it left a trail of broken undergrowth. They also said that this creature had an animal in its mouth. The film King Kong had recently been released, not long before this sighting, and it's now thought that Spicer fabricated the account based on a monster that came out of a lake in that film. Now after this report, lots of sightings started to be reported from the public, and this is around the time the term Loch Ness Monster was used. On the 12th of November 1933, a Mr. Hugh Gray took a photograph that he said was the Loch Ness Monster. However, the original negative got lost, but in 1963, 2 plates of this image were analysed, and it was found to be an image of an otter rolling around as it normally would. Some observant people have also said that this image looks just like a dog swimming with a stick in its mouth. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Now, on the 5th of January 1934, at around 1 AM, it was a nice calm moonlit night at Loch Ness, when an Arthur Grant, who was a veterinary student, was riding his motorcycle at the north-eastern section of the loch. He states that as he was riding his motorcycle, he nearly hit a creature that he said had a long neck and described it as a cross between a seal and a plesiosaur. This creature crossed the road and headed into the loch. And this is a sketch that Arthur Grant did of this creature that he saw. Now, it was suggested by a paleontologist called Darren Naish that Grant exaggerated his sighting and it was just simply an otter or a seal. Now, this photograph is probably the most famous photograph of Nessie, one would argue, and it was taken by a Robert Kenneth Wilson in 1934, and it's known as the surgeon's photograph. and it was known as the surgeon's photograph because Robert Wilson was a doctor. There were actually 2 photographs taken of this creature on this day. However, the second one has gained little fame as it's too blurry. So this famous photograph shows the creature's head and neck. But over the years, many people have studied this photograph in detail, and it's largely agreed that this object was around 2 to 3 feet high and therefore was a hoax. There were other people involved in this photograph. There was a Christian Sperling, a Maurice Chambers and an Ian Weatherall. In 1991, Maurice Chambers admitted that the photograph was a fake. He stated that the photograph was actually taken by Ian Weatherall and that the monster was actually made from a toy submarine bought from F.W. Woolworths, and its neck was made of wood putty. It's thought that Maurice Chambers gave the photograph to Robert Wilson, who had it developed and then sold it on to the Daily Mail. In 1938, a G.E. Taylor filmed something in Loch Ness for a period of around 3 minutes. However, a writer by the name of Maurice Burton later analysed the film and deemed this thing to be an inanimate object just floating in the water.
We were soon to know, for through our telescopic lenses we saw the grey waters suddenly heave as the monster cut through them with lightning speed. Climatic conditions and exposure day and night to bleak and stormy weather affected our film, which accounts for the misty results. But this is unimportant in comparison to the achievement of filming the monster itself for the first time in history.
In 1954, a fishing boat by the name of Rival 3 was searching for the monster using sonar. It detected a large object at a depth of 479 feet, and this object was keeping pace with the fishing boat, so it just makes you wonder what it was, doesn't it? A Peter McNab took a photograph of the monster on the 29th of July 1955, and this photograph showed 2 large black humps sticking out of the water. However, it's thought that this was a hoax because analysis was undertaken of the original negative, and it was found that a tree from the published photograph was actually missing from the original negative. On the 23rd of April 1960, a gentleman by the name of Tim Dinsdale filmed what looked to be like a large dark hump moving along in the water at Loch Ness. Analysis of this film in the 1990s revealed that this footage may show the rear end of an actual creature in the water. However, further analysis revealed that what was filmed was actually a boat in the water, and the confusion was down to poor lighting conditions. Now, it wasn't thought that Dinsdale was a hoaxer and he just mistook this thing for the creature.
Alex Campbell, the local water bailiff, has seen Nessie many times.
20 times altogether, and not only in the one spot but in all different areas of Loch Ness.
What's the most you've ever seen of it at any one sighting?
The best view I ever had was the very first in 1934. I saw the head, the neck and the huge body, which I'd say was about 30 feet long.
And what's the closest you've ever been to it?
Oh, within about less than 10 yards.
From 10 yards then, what does it really look like?
Oh, the skin, the hump, the one big hump, and the skin was exactly like that of an elephant. Wrinkly, tough looking.
Is it not possible, Mr. Campbell, that you're mistaken in this, either because you're imagining things or more probable because you've been brought up to believe in this monster?
Not at all. I know perfectly well because I've seen it, and not only myself, but educated, far better educated people than I am.
Another man who has no doubts whatsoever is Hugh Apen of Dawes near Inverness. He told me how he once chased Nessie in his boat.
We saw the head, and the 4 humps, and all the body.
Can you tell me anything about its colour?
Yes, it was the very same colour as an elephant.
Now, how did it dive?
Oh, straight down.
Why do you think the monster went down? Was it frightened by the noise?
Yes, the noise of the outboard.
And then what did you do after that?
well, we came home again after that. We never seen it after that.
Weren't you rather terrified being so close to it?
No, not at the time, but I wouldn't do it again.
Now all these sightings are strange, but this one sort of takes the biscuit really. On the 21st of May 1977, a magician by the name of Anthony Shiela, I think that's how it's pronounced, took some photographs of a creature that he claimed to have summoned out of the water. He described this creature as an elephant squid, and he said that this creature hadn't got a neck. He described it as having a trunk with a white spot at its base, and he said that this white spot was the creature's eye. Now there were no ripples around this creature in the water, and it was deemed to be a hoax because of this. However, because of the nature of this sighting and this guy being a magician, this sighting has earned the name of the Loch Ness Muppet. On the 26th of May 2007, a 55-year-old lab technician by the name of Gordon Holmes was driving alongside Loch Ness when he saw a large black object moving along at speed in the water. He stopped his car and quickly grabbed his camcorder. He got out of his car and slammed his door shut. He hoped the noise of the door shutting hadn't scared this creature away. He went down to the loch and there it was, so he filmed it with his camcorder, moving along at speed. A marine biologist by the name of Adrian Shine at the time said that this was the best footage he'd seen. However, later on as time went by, Mr. Shine said that this creature in the footage was likely an otter, a seal or a water bird. On the 24th of August 2011, Loch Ness boat captain Marcus Atkinson was taking sonar images of the loch when the sonar picked up an image that seemed to be around 4.9 feet in width, and whatever this sonar detected was following his boat. Now, Mr. Atkinson ruled out that this would be a fish or a seal, but scientists now think that this sonar image was algae or zooplankton. On the 2nd of November 2011, a gentleman by the name of George Edwards claimed to have took a photograph of the Loch Ness Monster. Now, he stated that he'd been searching for this monster for around 26 years, and he regularly took tourists up and down the loch on his boat called the Nessie Hunter 4. In October of 2013, however, he admitted that this photograph was a hoax. He also took a photograph of the Loch Ness Monster in 1986, he states, although I'm not quite sure whether he can make his mind whether it's genuine or hoaxed, because at first he stated that it was hoaxed and then he stated that it was genuine. Now, there's also a mysterious image taken by a satellite that appears to show a large creature around 30 metres long at the loch's far north end. However, it's now largely accepted that this image shows a boat, and the shape you can see is actually the wake it leaves in the water. So what do you think, folks? Over the years since the 1930s, loads of searches have been undertaken to find this monster, with the latest technology at the time the searches were given. However, nothing conclusive has ever been found. So let me know what you think. Have you got any sightings? Do you know anybody who's seen this monster? Do you have any further information? If you have, leave me a comment and maybe I can chase that up. Interesting subject, isn't it? I really hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, like and ring the little bell to get notified of when I next upload a video for you. And I will see you next time. Bye.